So let me kind of explain where I'm coming from and kind of my experience with how I was diagnosed with hemochromatosis. I had always been an extremely tired person, and I always considered myself weak and not very capable. I always had bad joints, crackling joints, knees, elbows, even jaw pain. And I was very tired all the time. And I just kind of just thought, well, that's just me. That's just the way I am, because that's the way I always was. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I was speaking with some family members at a family reunion on my wife's side, where they were talking about thyroid issues. And I started reading, and I was absolutely convinced that I had a thyroid problem. So I went to, I read all about it online, and I found a doctor that treated thyroid problems. And so I went to her, and she did some blood tests. Sure enough, she discovered that I have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease where your antibodies attack your thyroid. And so I started taking the thyroid medication, and I literally cried. In just a matter of days, I started feeling alive. Like everything just felt right, like the way beyond what I ever could have expected, but it just felt good. And so I cried. I asked my wife, I said, is this what normal people feel like? I can't believe how good this feels. So that was my first step. When she did these blood tests, this doctor did these blood tests, she included an iron panel. And it is a very inexpensive test, and it tells you a lot. Now, 1 in 200 people, if you are of European descent, 1 out of 200 people have a iron genetic gene that causes you to absorb more iron than you need, given our current diets. I imagine at the time it was a benefit. However, now it's known as the Celtic Curse. There's a few genes that can be passed down, and it probably benefited the Vikings at some point in time. In fact, it actually benefited those who lived during the plagues. One of the plagues specifically was unable to infect the individual successfully because of the iron stores. However that works, it saved a lot of lives. But now it is one of the most undiagnosed causes of death. In fact, hemochromatosis is usually diagnosed at an autopsy. So I really dodged a bullet in being diagnosed with what is the, it's called homozygous C2A2Y chromosomes. So I got 1 gene from my mother, 1 gene from my father. Now it looks like we're having maybe some technical difficulties. If somebody's watching, could you let me know if this is coming through okay? I want to make sure that this goes as smoothly as we possibly can. So it was inevitable that I would absorb more iron than I should. Now, some people absorb it at faster rates. Maybe they eat more red meat. There are other genetic conditions that contribute to it. But my lot was that I was on a very dangerous path with the amount of iron that I was at. It was very significantly high. Any higher, and I would have sustained massive liver damage. So basically what happens is when you get too much iron, your body doesn't have an easy time getting rid of it. For women, it's easier because they have their monthly cycle. And it usually shows up in women later once they go through menopause. So I was dangerously high, but I haven't had any of the permanent damage to any organs. At least that was the state that I was at. Now, being that high, the treatment for hemochromatosis is actually quite simple. It's not fun, but it's very treatable if you diagnose it. And that is therapeutic phlebotomy or bloodletting. And when I looked at it, there's a lot of talk of where you go, who you can go to. There's some offices and blood banks that will take your blood, others will not. So you do need to do some research on that topic. But you need to start having therapeutic phlebotomies regularly, as many as you can handle, and that will bring the iron stores down. A lot of people instantly think that they need to change their diet radically to not have any more iron. And that's actually can cause other problems, one of which is called iron avidity, which means your body goes in ultra conservative, get even more iron than you're already absorbing. Because once your body senses that there's a shortage of something, it starts to hold on to it even more. So while you're taking, and I have some links in the description below of things that you can take and buy that will help you. And you can get these in the stores as well, but they're available on Amazon, that will help you both during your day-to-day life and also during your therapeutic phlebotomies. So while you're having these phlebotomies, you have to have a set amount of tests to make sure to monitor how your blood count is going, what your iron levels are at, and a lot of details as you're going along. It took me about 3 to 4 months of bloodletting every other week. They would take a full bag of blood, like if you went to the Red Cross to donate, they would take that much blood every other week. So by the end of it, and if you watched this vlog at all on the previous, you knew that I was trying to lose weight. Well, I gained back all of the weight that I lost. And by the end of these phlebotomies, I was dead tired, totally exhausted. It was just terrible. And this was because my the idea is to make you anemic when you're having these phlebotomies. And so I went from having too much iron to not enough iron, and I would be eating just to have energy. What I found really helped during that time was vitamin B12. You can get this at Costco, but like I said, there's a link in the description. Vitamin B12 helps your body use the iron that you have to create and replenish your red blood cells. So I would take this. These are sublingual. These are probably the best that I found. They're very powerful, and if you take these regularly during your therapeutic phlebotomies, it really will help you in not feeling wiped out. I wish I knew about this sooner. Another thing that you can take, because it's also important, there's other minerals and things that will help your body not absorb iron. So, for example, if you're going to eat a hamburger, it's actually beneficial to eat a cheeseburger or a milkshake, because calcium inhibits iron absorption. It slows it down. This multivitamin here is the only one that does not contain iron. So this is normally, I always thought of this as being for old people. I'm 38, but this has no iron in it. So this is the multivitamin of choice for people with hemochromatosis. And then also, this is green tea extract. And Green tea extract, I read one article and I can't find it, but that one article provided even more information. This prevents iron absorption, and that's known throughout several sources, but there was one article I was reading that talked about this having iron chelating properties, which means it helps leach the iron out of your tissue. Because when you have this disease, they call it a disease. I don't like to call it a disease. When you have hemochromatosis, your body starts placing iron anywhere it can hide it, anywhere it can place it, because there's so much iron and it can't get rid of it easily. So it starts to affect every organ, every tissue. I started having burning feet and kind of neuropathy pains, and I get them randomly now. It's really bizarre, but that's another symptom. The symptoms are so wide-ranging and so unrelated that it's very easy for doctors to miss. And it's also surprising how few doctors know the details of how to treat it. I was diagnosed with it, and the doctor's recommendation was, well, go donate blood, as if that would take care of it, one donation. So you really need to find a doctor that understands hemochromatosis. Another great resource for anyone diagnosed or anyone that is taken care of or living with somebody who's diagnosed is and I need to put a link to it, the Hemochromatosis group on Facebook. It is very informative and a lot of people on there to help. And so that has been one of the greatest resources. One, just to have a group of people that are in the same boat as you. And two, if you're new to this whole thing, you can ask the questions, and there's a lot of people wanting to help and help spread the word about what is known as the Celtic Curse. So that is kind of in a nutshell. Now I am in what's called maintenance mode. I finished my therapeutic phlebotomies, and so once every 3 months I get an iron level test, and then I have to have my blood drawn or taken. That is to maintain my levels within a good, healthy range. And here's what I've noticed from being in this maintenance mode. I reached the point where I was never fatter than I am now. I've lost about 10 pounds in the last few weeks, but a few weeks ago, I was the fattest I ever was. And yet I never felt better. I felt fantastic. And so I started going to the gym, all those things, because I could. It didn't wipe me out. And so being in what we call maintenance mode is absolutely fantastic. And what I didn't realize is when I had my last iron test, I decided to have a thyroid panel as well, which revealed that my thyroid levels were coming back to normal. My antibodies were less. And so the iron was a direct contributor to the level of Hashimoto's severity, or however you want to describe it, was. So that was awesome. I don't take it anymore. I don't take the thyroid medication anymore, and I'm doing well. So I didn't foresee that happening. What I'm doing right now in terms of health, and maybe I'll do another video later, is I'm doing a what's called a gut cleanse, where basically I'm eliminating the bad gut flora and taking probiotics and some other things to help stabilize my gut and the GI tract. You probably heard about leaky gut, and one of the things that helps actually is taking glutamine, because what happens with the leaky gut is things start going through your gastrointestinal lining and leaching into your body. Well, if you have hemochromatosis and a leaky gut, it really is it's a terrible combination. And so I've been taking care of that, and that was part of how I lost 10 pounds. 10 pounds in 2 weeks, maybe a little more. It's really amazing. So that's what I wanted to share with you. If you are of Northern European descent and you have, if you have any suspicion that maybe you have health problems that you can't explain or doctors can't explain, have them test your iron. And then once you go from there, have them test to see if you have hemochromatosis. It's a hereditary thing that's passed through your genes. One of the bizarre symptoms of hemochromatosis is actually a nice bronze tan. It's called bronze diabetes because you can actually get diabetes. The iron stores in your pancreas and causes all kinds of problems. So this is a terrible affliction, but I wouldn't have minded at least having a nice tan during the whole process. I never had that aspect of it. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the chat, and I will either answer them now if you're here in the live stream, or if you're here for the recorded version, you can let me know in the comment section, and I will do my best to answer them. And so that will be that. Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, you can subscribe.